Hello everybody, I'm going to do a review on this mobile base by Central Machinery from Harbor Freight. This is what you would use maybe on a table saw or a band saw, which is why I purchased it. And it's supposed to hold up to 300 pounds of capacity. These are $40 on their website. This one actually was not on sale in any capacity when I bought it, and I usually buy things on sale. But I did have a 25% off coupon, so that basically saved me $10. So I got it for 30 bucks plus tax. I haven't got it out of the box yet. I just wanted to show how it was packaged. Packaging seems to be quite nice. You do have to make your own wood pieces for this, and I'm going to step through what I'm doing on mine, but I purchased it to go under this bandsaw here so I could kind of move it around. That saw weighs, I think, about 215 pounds or so, somewhere around in there, so it's not really something you can move around by yourself. And if you have a small shop, anything on wheels is a benefit. So I'm going to step through this and see what I think about it, and I'll let you know. Alright, well, I've got everything out of the box. I'm actually quite surprised with the quality of this so far. I originally thought the casters were going to be like a hard plastic. They're not. They're some really hard form of rubber. It has that, if you guys are familiar with anything rubber that comes from Harbor Freight, you'll know that smell. It's got that Harbor Freight smell to it that takes a week to wear out of your shop. But the bearings in the casters, everything seems to look pretty good. Heavy steel. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how this thing goes together, because it's a little, it's not that it's hard, it's just, here's their exploded diagram, and it is exploded, but it's just really small. It's just kind of hard to figure out what's what. So I was going to go ahead and show you that real quick if you guys are interested. I've got the front and the back put together. We're just going to mirror this. All in all, like I said, pretty good. It doesn't matter which corner you put in which corner, meaning which corner bracket. They're all the same. They're universal. Sorry about the camera there. Seem to hit it with my head. So let's start with the back one. Since I've got one here, I know this caster is going to go here. There are two different types of bolts. Some have a shank on them and some are all threaded. This is going to be a shanked bolt. One thing I will say about this is you might want to put a little bit of grease or something in there, because it's kind of stiff to turn. Anyway, it'll load in here, bolt from the inside out. All of the nuts, with the exception of 4 of them, are Nylocks, which is pretty neat. And then I'll go ahead and just show the bolt pattern on this. You're just going to have one here. And these are all shanked bolts. They'll all have a smooth shank on them. One down in this hole, 2 here. I haven't cut my wood yet. I kind of wanted to see how this was laying out to figure out how long the pieces needed to be. So there's that one, plain and simple. Now we'll move on to the second one, which is a little bit different. This is the one that's just kind of a bit tricky. So we'll just start in this back corner here, since I already know. Shank bolt, Nylock, alright, now in this corner it's going to sit on here just like so. We're going to have a shank bolt right here that goes through this bracket with a nut. Now on these 2 holes right here, that's where these long ones come into play that have the threads on the whole shank. I'm going to put one here, and then one right here. Now because this is sitting on the outside, that's what this little flat washer's for. There'll be one on each end. It goes here to space that back out. And then this bracket goes on, self-explanatory. A couple of these here. One more here. And those will get tightened up later. Got one more bolt with a shank that'll go right here. And of course it'll get a nut as well. Now on the caster you'll have 4 just regular nuts. One of them will just wheel right down to the bottom of this. It didn't come with any lock washers or anything for this, but it should be okay. So that's basically how they're put together. Part of the reason I'm doing this is because your wood needs to be cut specifically. I don't think you can see the whole thing in the frame, so I'm just going to try to turn it. On this edge right here, you're going to stop it right in front of the wheel, and you're going to make your wood long enough to go all the way to this inside corner right here, where this corner is. And then on the front and the back, well, I'll do them both because they may be different. On the front, it would be the same type of deal. Your wood's going to stop at this corner here and go all the way across and stop at this other corner right here. You can't run it in here because you've got this leveler slash brake, which it also is a very, very dense hard rubber. It does have a plastic handle on it, but to my surprise it's actually pinned here with a pin, roll pin, and it has some huge wing nuts on to lock them in. So I don't know if you can see how big that is. It kind of surprised me when I got out of the box. They looked smaller in the picture. So that will be that, and then on the back you'll run all the way out to here with your piece of wood, span your distance and run all the way out to here. Now when you're going to measure for the base, I didn't really read the manual to see what they said, but don't just measure this inside dimension and say that's where I want it with my base, because you probably won't be able to get your saw in there with these, or whatever you're putting in it, with these bolts hanging in. So just make sure you give yourself that allowance to make this a little bigger than what you absolutely need to get a real tight fit to your saw or whatever you're putting in there. So you know, if you've got your thread sticking off a 1/4 inch here, your bolt head 1/4 inch on the other side, it might be a half. You might give yourself another 1/4 to a half wiggle room. So you might want to make this 3/4 or 1 inch longer overall in both directions. I haven't determined mine yet, and obviously everybody's equipment's going to be different. I just wanted to show real quick how an easy way, you know, that I'm determining how long to cut these pieces of wood, and they are going to be 1.25 inches square, by the way. So what I did was I just laid, I'm going to have mine in this orientation where the wheels would be here on the back. I took them out just so I could get it laying flat on the workbench, and then I put the bolt back in there. And on my saw, the base, I'm 13.5 inches wide and I'm 20.5 inches deep. So this is the back, which would be the 13.5. So I just laid it out here. I measured from the head of this bolt to the head of this bolt, put it at 13.5 and looked at it and said, okay, I'm only going to add 1/4 inch to my measurement. So I set this measurement at 13.75 from the head of the bolt to the head of the bolt. And then from that point I can measure from here where I want to stop the wood over to here where it's going to stop, and that gives me 14 3/16. So that's how long I'm going to make the front and the back pieces for the width of the saw. And then on the depth, you know, I'll do the same process and then measure from here up, and then that'll give me the exact that I needed. I'm going to try to make mine as tight as possible by giving myself an 1/8 inch wiggle room on each side. You might want to give it a little bit more, but that's just what I'm doing. Alright, so I've got my wood pieces cut out. I wanted to just kind of slide everything together and make sure my measurement was correct, and it was. So that's something I would recommend, you know, before you go too crazy drilling all these holes. But I did want to make note here, not every hole in this thing actually gets a bolt. It may seem that way, but since these brackets are kind of universal, that's just not the way they designed it. Now if you want to go get some more fasteners, you know, like those, you can fill these holes where the bolts are not in mine, but I laid it out this way just so you could see actually the way they designed it and where the bolts go, so you can mark for your holes. You know, this is where the wheel sits right here on the back. I just have it laying out to the side. There will be 2 holes here that get drilled into the wood, and then on this back corner there'll be 2 holes, but they'll be the outsides. This one in the center does not get one. Same thing on the other side. The one in the center does not get one, but there'll be 2 in the wood here. Now on the front pieces, it's kind of the same thing. There's 3 in here that will actually have 3 bolts going through the wood, but on this side there's only 2, one in the top corner and one back here. And it's a mirror on the other side. I just wanted to be clear, you know, and show this because it does look like there's not enough fasteners, but when you look at the manual, look at the descriptions, and as well as look at the picture on the box, those fasteners are not in those holes anyway. So if you want to buy some, put them in there, knock yourself out. I'm not going to, but at this point everything's looking good. My dimensions are correct for the base of my saw. So I'm going to mark these holes out with a pencil, and I'll take them to my drill press. You're supposed to use a 3/8 inch bit to pierce them through there. I'll drill all the holes and then it'll be ready to assemble. Alright, well here's a quick shot of the finished base. I've made my wood pieces. They were 1.25 inches square. They fit the frame beautifully. If you get them right at 1 1/4, work great, you know, so no complaints there. I will make a note that when you're putting in these back wheels, you know, you don't just tighten these up till they don't stop, you know, or you'll just bend this piece of steel over. You just tighten these up just enough to take the slack out of your bolt. That's all you need to do there. I did put a little dab of white lithium grease on the round smooth shank of that bolt, and now you can see how it just freewheels. I couldn't hardly turn it by hand originally, so not that these things are going to be moving that fast, but it should help wear and tear on this when they do move. So you might consider putting a little bit of lube there. All in all, very easy to do. You know, it took a little bit of time to make the wood, measure everything. No big deal though, especially for the money. Put a little bit of labor into it, and it looks like it's going to just work awesome. The thing I have to figure out now is how to get that 215-pound saw into the stand, because I'm by myself. And I don't have a picker or anything like that, a hoist I can use, so may have to wait to call on the neighbor because it's getting kind of late. So once I get it in there, I'll show you the finished result. Well, alright, I got lucky. I sent my neighbor a text and he hadn't hit the bed yet, so he came over and helped me put this in here. Gotta love neighbors who help. And that goes both ways. But anyway, I'll just tell you how we got this in here. You know, like I said, it's about 215 pounds. It's not that 215 pounds is that really hard to lift with two people. Even one, you know, if you're feeling good, but it's just that these things are awkward, you know, and they can get away from you. So the way I did it is I pulled it out here into the middle of the room. We tilted it back onto its back here, coming up at an angle towards the front, and he held it on the back as I rolled this thing in and moved it in as far as I could. Then I lifted on the bottom flange, brought it forward about 4 or 5 inches and set it down. We just rocked it right in, so no big deal. It was really easy to do. So just to show you how well it works, you know, I can't move it too far, but you know, just put a thumb on it, just push it right out there. You know, it seems to wheel around pretty good. Seems stable. You know, I'm not scared of it. Try to rock it here a little bit. You know, rocks a little bit, but that is a vast improvement over having it just sit on the floor and trying to drag it around if you need to move it. So for small shops, even larger shops, you know, you can set your saws on this whatever you want. You can lock it down to the floor, you know, so it doesn't move. It may not move anyway under its own weight. You know, it does take a little bit to move it around. You know, but that way you can be mobile and you can get things shifted around to where you can work on them or get them out of the way and bring something else in. You know, that's kind of why I got this, is because, you know, I'm really constrained here, as most of you guys know, and I keep dragging these big things in, and I just don't, you know, I've got space for the tools, but I don't have room to use the tools. You know, so I have to move things around and make a hole, work in the hole, then move them out of the hole and bring another piece in. So anyway, I wouldn't hesitate to get one of these. I think it's a great deal for the money, even at full price for $40. But like I said, I got a 25% off coupon and got it for 30 bucks. You know, so do some research on these, do some homework, but this is what I think about it, and I think it's a winner. Thanks for watching, and good luck.